like if you're open to sharing, I'd love to know like what software do you use? Like how do you pull that all together like so fast, so quickly during those battles?
Yeah, the it's about the prep. I'm gonna say it's about the prep. I would like to say that I just show up and everything is what it needs to be, but especially in the early days of the roast battle, I spent hours prepping. So like if we had a battle, I got to be there like 10 or something like that. I might spend 4 hours just prepping, cutting sound effects to having an idea to the fact where I feel like I understand about 1,000 different little audio samples and I put them in a place on my software that I can get to them pretty quick. And then throughout the battles, I started to realize like, okay, these work well. Then I would categorize them and then I would put cue points in them. But to be really basic, all I use is Serato. So Serato, I just use the DJing app. Inside of Serato, they have 8 sample banks. And inside of the 8 sample banks, you can have 8 cue marks in those. So you have 8 sample banks. You have 8 sample banks, but you have four, or you have 8 sample slots. So you have 4 banks, and then each of the slot you can have 8 cues. So you just prep to have those, and then you try to get lucky. But then every now and then you'll hear a joke kind of forming, and then I'll just abandon and go find something I think is dope and try to throw it in when the crowd dies.
Yeah, like I remember, I think Jon Stewart was a judge. Someone said something about Simpsons, and you had the Simpsons theme cue.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Like, so that's you searching, like you're going
absolutely.
online
If
and
I
pulling it.
hear anything that sounds like something that is a general reference, my fingers can move faster than the person can tell the joke and the people can hear it. And so at that point, it's like I'm just gonna wait because I don't want to step on the joke and I want to make sure that we're enhancing the show and I don't steal anything. But it's like
Yeah.
I can move a lot faster than they can.
Oh, okay. So they've said something, you still have time to pull it up, and then you're just waiting for the right moment to drop it.
Oh, say if someone's doing a setup and someone says, you remind me of Bart, I'm typing. By the time you say Simpsons, I've probably already got it queued up. Like
Oh,
it's not
wow.
even an issue. If I hear Bart, I'm already in it. So like the real challenge is my public school education because I can't spell. And
Google's got you covered there.
no, but you gotta find it like quick. Like you can't miss a beat. I
Yeah.
remember somebody had a cold joke on Jeff Ross, and it was like Uncle Fester, and I tried to go find Adam's Family, and I think it's spelled with 2 D's, and I only spelled it with 1 D, and I missed the whole joke, and it was a quiet ride home for me. I felt bad.
That's not public school. I didn't know. No one knows that has two D's. That's the producer's fault.
Yeah, that killed me, or something like that. I remember missing that. Like I'm haunted by the Adams Family joke because it would have killed.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get it because I can't spell. So what?
Yeah. No, I mean that's anyone would have made that mistake. But so when you pull it up, are you playing it like from the browser? Are you importing it into Serato, or
No,
how's it?
I have everything in Serato. So I got thousands and thousands of things that I think might be funny. So I got everything. It's just about putting things in my computer that I know are good. Like, I just
Yeah.
gotta be able to find it. And I gotta be able to find it kind of quick. So I mean I've got I think when I transfer my Serato thing, it's like 33 days of music in Serato.
Wow.
So it's like
So you find the like the Simpsons one, Bart, you've Googled it, and now are you just pressing play when you find it, or are you actually taking the time to also still move it to Serato?
oh, so let's say I find a sound effect like Simpsons, right? And I had the Simpsons. I already had every theme song that anyone can ever think of. I've already had that even before the roast battle, and I just happened to be in my Serato. It works into a DJ set, and so now that I know that those things hit in roast battle, I just make sure that I have good cue points on the Simpsons because the worst thing would be to throw the Simpsons in at a point where we don't recognize it. So it's comedy. I've got like these milliseconds for a laugh to die down. You still got 4 or 5 judges trying to get in there and show the world how funny they are. I just got to find a nice cool spot where it's kind of dead, and I got to make sure it's cued properly. I have everything muted, and then I'll turn it up and I'll cue it, and I'll make sure that it hits kind of the way it needs to hit. But it's all prep. I'm telling you, it's all prep. Like the roast, I may have done 1,000 roast battles, but I've done 10,000 roast battles in my mind, prepping, making sure the audio could possibly be where it needs to be.
Wow. So you basically have the samples on like kind of one shot, so you with a trigger and a fade.
Oh,
So it's like it's queued up at the place like you said where it's like the most recognizable, and
uh-huh.
it's gonna be, you can just press it and then kind of move on. It'll fade and kind of keep going.
Yeah, there's three playback structures. You have a one shot, you have a hold, and
Yeah.
you have uh, something else. I forget what it is. Or it's like it goes, you can start it and stop it. So you can start it and stop it, one shot it, and you can
Yeah,
hold.
like NPC style where it
Yeah.
re-triggers. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I had to make I had to make a decision on that. So like a gunshot is always a one shot. And sometimes I have these long like army scenes, and that way I could just trigger that, and then I can go to other things and drop bombs on that and do things like that. So yeah, there's just a lot of it's nerdy style prep. It's nothing like, oh, we're hanging out and look how cool I am. It's like 4 hours of battle to the point where, okay, 5 years into it, you can kind of be cool without even trying. But in the early
Right.
days, it was work.
That's all. Everything in the studio. People think it's going to be hookers and blow and it's mostly just you're playing with a mouse and yelling at someone one more time. Do it again. Do it
Exactly.
again.
Exactly. But it's like, there'll be times when I'll be like, I'm getting tired of my sound effects. I gotta fix that. And then I'll go get sound effects and I'll listen to them. I'll be like, I don't even like how they sound. So I'll go in and I'll add compression. Like a certain bomb dies the way that I don't like it to die. So I'll go in and I'll fix that. I had like these Mario sound effects, but I didn't like the way that they hit. So maybe I added some distortion, and maybe I've done this, maybe I've done that. And there's really a lot of musical science, nerdy shit that happens hours and hours before every battle. And I wish it was more glamorous, but it's like it's like OCD almost.
No, but I mean that's like to be skilled at music production or engineering, it's a lot of like nerdy stuff and a lot of technical know-how you have to do to make sure that like those little things matter. Like you don't think it does, but if one sound effect's quieter than the other, then you're spending all day turning things up and down. So if you have it all queued up, compressed the way you like it, like it makes for a better show.
Yeah, it's got to hit. It's got to rumble. And I remember we did our first away show was in San Diego. We did it at the Comedy Store in San Diego. We had Jeff with us, and I had a portable subwoofer, and I brought it and I hooked it up, and the guy who was running helping us with audio in San Diego was like he's like a pothead. He's like, "What do you need to sub? We have good sounds for." I was like, "Dude, shut up! Like we need a sub." And then at the end of the show, he looked at me. He was like, "Yeah, that mattered." I'm like, "Yeah, low frequencies matter in a roast battle. It just does something to you when a joke hits and you hear a bomb and you hear this weird low energy.
Yeah.
If you can't reproduce that properly, it kind of takes away from the show."
Right, because speaker system set up to talk has
Uh,
the low end taken out, so it doesn't sound like poppy and all that
yeah,
stuff. So if you have a separate sub just feeding for the sound effects, it's gonna sound dope.
yeah, that was the first thing I did when I got in there. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna bring." I brought a portable subwoofer. It was a 10-inch subwoofer, but it was huge. I brought it up every single week because I was like, it mattered. But at the time, we're like, dude, we were talking to HBO, we're talking to Comedy Central, so it was like, we're trying to make enough money to retire. So we got to be on TV and we were poor, so all that shit just made sense.